Hey guys, let's get that audio check done real quick. I kind of got a different setup right now and a totally different camera. Sitting here with my buddy from a whole nother hemisphere. Let's see, audio's good. Excellent. Excellent. We didn't give anybody any time because we're really just shooting the shit, having a good time. Went out to dinner last night. Some of us in Archaix kind of get together once a month, go to movies, and just in the local area here, we'll go to a movie, whatever's out there. Almost every movie's been lousy so far. We've been striking out. We watched the new Beetlejuice, thinking it was going to be really good because of all the original cast. But went to dinner and just had a good time. But this live was unanticipated, just like his visit to Texas. But this is Lau. He's been traveling across the United States. He has already met with once or twice Joel Perceiver.
Yeah, it was the first time I've been working with Joel for just over a year now, and I was really lucky to attend his retreat in Montana. And yeah, I met like the most amazing group of people. It was so nice to meet Joel after working with him online and doing some of his courses. And yeah, so we all met in Montana and spent 5 days together and practiced a lot of the magical passes and the other material from the Toltec lineage. So yeah, that was amazing. That was sort of why I came to America. And yeah, there's a few other things that kind of started to develop before I left. About 3 weeks before I left, I started a creative project that was actually spurred by Jason. So Jason had talked about Lebanese cedar as being a really important part of our history and the Lebanese cedar trade. And years ago, I was a sawmiller in New Zealand, used to cut mostly Cypress macrocarpa, and we're lucky enough to get a tree that came in with a couple of big logs of Lebanese cedar. So I got my hands on a big slab of it, and it's been sitting in my garage for a long time now. And yeah, so
not all of it. It's not all of it. It's not all in the garage anymore.
So anyway, yeah. So I had this idea. I always wanted to make beads, and I spent a bit of time in monasteries in Nepal, and yeah, I really love the malas and everything.
These are the trees of New Zealand, highly polished all the way down to beads. Yeah, it's awesome. These beads come apart. They're hollow. They got little trinkets inside of them.
Yeah, so anyway, I decided to make a few necklaces for friends, and I kind of went from being some simple beads to pretty magical kind of creation. And yeah, I really wanted to gift something to Jason because I've watched most of his material, and I really appreciate the time and the effort that he's put in over the years. And yeah, so I wanted to make a gift for him and also some other people, and yeah, also sort of make it just something that can support us, and yeah, being a bit of a sort of a guiding light. So yeah, that was another thing that happened. So I didn't get a lot of sleep in the last 3 weeks in New Zealand, sort of working day and night trying to get this done, and yeah, so I didn't know if I was going to make it to Texas because pretty much once I got to Montana and paid for some accommodation and all my travel, yeah, I had no money left.
It's pretty expensive. It's pretty expensive in the States. Man.
Yeah, I had 3 weeks. I had 3 more weeks in the States, and I was trying to figure out how it was all going to work. So some of the people that I met, on the course and the retreat, just blew my mind. I've lived a life where I've been pretty weird in New Zealand. I'm a bit intense for people. I'm a bit strange. I've been called crazy before.
It's so isolated.
Yeah, it's very conservative in New Zealand. New Zealand's a beautiful place. The natural environment there is unparalleled really to anything else I've seen in the world. But yeah, it's still very conservative. So you step out of the box a little bit, start talking about some strange experiences that you have, and pretty sure pretty quick, people jump on that and you get all the labels and which aren't so nice. So anyway, being over here and meeting these people from the retreat that have been also working with Joel, I just started to get support from people, and they said, we're happy to help you out and make it happen for you. And so it's always been a bit hard for me to receive. Kind of just keep going in life, even though I haven't had a lot of support in the ways that I've needed it. Just piece by piece, day by day, I got just enough to get to the next stage. And then I kind of reached points where, especially in Missoula, I had to give away the money that I had to help other people. And so it was this very up and down thing. But, I work a lot with the earth, the mother, and the father, the son. And essentially, I just trusted. I've been trusting in this process, and it's just been the most magical experience I've ever had in my life. And the love and the energy that I've had from everyone it's been phenomenal. And I spent 55 hours on the Greyhound. So I didn't sleep for 3 days. It's pretty hard to sleep on the Greyhound. Sometimes the air conditioning wasn't working. But again, just meeting all these amazing people that, just have so many powerful experiences to share. But, they're all the people kind of at the bottom of the barrel, and they don't have a lot of money. And because of my particular experiences and being in tight spots in my life, I can resonate with those people. And so I spend a lot of time connecting with the homeless and, just the roughest side of, I guess, the American population. But I'm telling you, man, they are the most generous. They are the most loving.
I've got to interject right there, because that's the reason we're doing this video. It's I wasn't intending on doing a video Sunday. I was going to relax. As a matter of fact, I was going to do what I'm doing right now. And during this video, because I can multitask, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, which is using this megapixel camera, because my community's been getting on my ass about not providing this chart pack. These are all my original hand-drawn illustrations from prison. And I was telling them about them last night. And I was telling them the project I'm on. I drew all these in prison almost 20 years ago, some of them 12 years ago, all my chronological research, and all the pictures I have online are kind of blurry or faded. But I now have a new megapixel camera. And while we were talking about this, I had to stop, because he's telling me all these stories that are taking me straight to my past. And he's telling them from the perspective of somebody who's experiencing all these things new. He just came to the United States. He's been hanging around the streets in the United States from New Zealand. And his stories are amazing, interacting with these homeless people, going to a bus stop and rescuing this guy who was just at wit's end because he didn't know how the hell he was going to get back home to LA, or was it San Diego?
LA.
And I'm sitting there listening to these stories like, wow, man, I lived that life. I've lived that life when I was on a motorcycle with a backpack and I had nothing else. And in that lifestyle, every single thing that I needed was provided to me right when I needed it, not before. And I would meet all these incredible people. And he told me a story yesterday. You got to tell the story about you were hungry, no more money left, and out of the blue. Yeah, you got to listen to this story. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm recording these. I'm doing the megapixels because a lot of you guys have been wanting the fresher, updated charts. And these are my original charts. And I'm taking these pictures to provide a whole pack of all the charts in one single pack. Paper, not digital downloads, but actual paper you can order from us, and we'll send you the whole pack of all these pictures. High resolution. And I'm going to continue to take these pictures as he continues to take me back to the past with these amazing stories, because people are awesome. People at the homeless level are absolutely awesome. I used to mingle among them. Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy listening to these stories. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember the actual bus station it was. I think it was in Tulsa. And anyway, we arrived. I had I've
been in Tulsa too.
30 cents or something like that. And I kind of hadn't eaten for the last 12 hours or something. And yeah, I was just sitting there thinking, where am I going to get the next, bit of food from? But I'd already had all these experiences where it just all worked out. And so anyway, I was just sitting there, and then suddenly this woman goes, "Does anyone want some food? I got a whole lot of food I need to get rid of. I've got too much weight." And then I turned around and said, "Yeah, I can do some food." She made me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, gave me a Dr. Pepper, can of like spaghetti and meatballs. And yeah, man, I felt like a rich man. And that woman, she was giving soft drinks and stuff to everyone. It was like Christmas there, It was so cool. And later on, I was on the bus with this woman. And she shared the most amazing story with me. A lot of these people that are in these sorts of situations, they have like a heightened awareness. They're often people that have abilities. And she was saying how often she sees spirits. And she said this woman came to her from her hometown, and essentially the woman told her that she'd been murdered by this man. And she knows who the man is. She's seen him, around the town. But there was no evidence to connect him with the crime. But the spirit showed the woman that actually underneath the tree somewhere there was this box, and within the box was the evidence for the crime that had been committed. And she was still trying to work out where this box was. She didn't know. And so because I have quite a strong connection with trees, and I know the trees are all interconnected, through the web of the earth, I sort of suggested that maybe she works with the trees, spend some time with the trees, because they'll be able to pass information. And yeah, and if she can really, if she can complete that process.
Where have you guys heard that before?
Yeah. If she can complete this process and help the spirit, move on, that's an amazing thing. That's phenomenal. And this isn't a woman that many people approach, but yeah, so not only was she generous, but she was this luminous mystic, essentially. And that's what I'm finding more and more in this world is, it's the people that have done it hard, people that have had the hard lessons, a lot of people that have been through abuse, their perceptions opened, their awareness becomes sharper because there's a sense of needing to protect themselves. And yeah, so these are, I caught the Greyhound because I didn't have money to fly. I would have if I hadn't given my money to this guy at the bus stop, but it was all perfect, and just an amazing experience. It would seem to most people 55 hours on the Greyhound would be horrible, and you get off the other end and be stressed.
But you meet people.
But I arrived in Albuquerque, man. The sun was coming up, and I was like, oh yeah, it was so good, so good.
I love Albuquerque.
So, yeah.
Love Albuquerque. I have very similar experiences. Before I went to prison, you guys know I was 15 years old. I ran away for 2 years. I lived on the streets. I was 15, 16, 17. I was on the streets. I have a lot of homeless stories. But when I got out of prison, I found myself in the exact same situation. And there was a time when I had $27 in my pocket and a backpack, and I was living on my motorcycle. Sometimes I used my motorcycle for my work. I was even hanging Christmas lights. I even used my motorcycle as leverage moored to a rope so I could hang off a roof to do Christmas lights. I've met so many incredible people on the streets. As a matter of fact, we're so used to commuting in vehicles that we live our lives in transit, and we pass up so many golden opportunities to meet some really just epic souls. You really meet a lot of people, even in this area. You'll meet a lot of people if you'll just take off walking. You'll park your car. It's an excellent pattern break. Just park your car somewhere and just start walking around. Have a little money on you. Plan to be out for 4, 6, 7 hours. Just walk around and not a care in the world, and you're going to be surprised. The random souls. And like he said, the situations. We're always assuming that spirit's not paying attention. We're always assuming, but listen, you don't see you see homeless everywhere, but you don't see homeless dead bodies everywhere. Spirit's taking care of those people. A lot of them have accepted lower standards, and those are the standards that they've written that into their experience. But I've come into contact with people who are very happy about not having any bills to pay. They were very happy about not having responsibilities. They were very happy about their personal freedoms. And they were in a single cup of coffee and a donut in the morning, empowered them all the way to 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when by that time they would have scraped up something for an evening meal. And they were perfectly happy with that backpack of possessions, walking around and I guess the friendships and the bonds that would develop between the people that were living on the streets. They're in their own little world, and there's not a lot of crossover with the rest of us. And it's an amazing dynamic. And I might one of these days just get a crew and have them follow me around like Houston and go talk to a bunch of homeless people, man, listen to their stories, and I'll just do it live on Archaix. If that is an idea that you guys think would be pretty interesting, because being an ex-con, 26 years in prison, I have a lot to identify with many of the people that are on the streets. And when they hear my story and how far I've come, it would be a very interesting to see the reactions live on YouTube. If you like that idea, just say you want to see it, and we'll make that happen.
Yeah, it'd be a good point actually to talk about where my main pattern break happened. So, things were kind of quite clear leading up to coming to America, and the sort of retreat was organized. And, I have to really thank Joel, because he sort of allowed me to have a bit of time to pay for the course fees and things. So I really appreciate that. But essentially, I had a little bit of money, which me and Jake gave to me. So thanks, shout out to Jake. He's from the retreat, really nice man from Canada.
Awesome.
And so I knew I had just enough money to get to Santa Fe, and then from Santa Fe to Texas on a bus and back. So my only option really was to hitchhike. I had just enough money to get to Texas from Santa Fe and back. So I thought, well, I'll hitchhike from Missoula. So anyway, I made a little sign saying, these are the different places I'm going on the way. Little cardboard sign that a girl helped me in the tobacco store. So anyway, I've got my little sign in my backpack, and I go to the bus station, figure out the bus that I need to take to the petrol station where most people are going through. Anyway, I sit down at the bus stop, and I'd been asking people if they knew they had any Indigenous connections, because I really wanted to spend some time with the Indigenous people. And I sit down at the bus stop, and there's this guy there who is actually the chief of the Blackfoot Nation. And then he tells me the story about how he was a paratrooper in the war, and he got gutted, completely. And he didn't die, but he covered himself in his friend's guts and blood and body parts or whatever, and played dead. And then somehow was the only one to survive. So anyway, he pulls up his shirt, and he's got this big, slice down there. So anyway, I talked to him for a while. He tells me a bit about the Blackfoot Nation, and I asked him a few questions in terms of, things that people have told me, which he sort of confirmed and denied. And anyway, that was really profound to just be given that experience, to meet a powerful man from the Indigenous population. But the other person that I met is this guy, and I met this guy called John List. You can actually look him up. There's articles and things written about him. And he...
he's a homeless guy.
No, he's not homeless.
Well, he's handicapped or something?
Yeah, so John List, he said he used to spend like 6 months at a time out in the wilderness with the Apache. And unfortunately, he lost his feet, some of his legs to frostbite. So he's in a wheelchair. I think he was in a car crash as well, so he had some difficulty, with his hands. Anyway, and a lot of the time meeting these people, like I smoke tobacco, and smoke natural tobacco without chemicals.
Just show him the bag. He rolls his own cigarettes.
Stuff. But anyway, this is often the connection I have with these people is that I roll them a cigarette or give them some tobacco, and I ended up having this really magical experience with this guy John Lister. I spent about 3 days in Missoula. I pushed him around on his wheelchair, which I think was quite a good little break for him because it looked like hard work in the situation.
That's pretty cool.
And it was really cool because I haven't really looked after less able-bodied people, and so I got to learn sort of the nuances of that. I mean, you can't go over the bumps too fast, otherwise it's going to fly off the chair. So that was really cool. And I didn't have a lot of money, so John was like, let's go to the shelter. They got really good food there. So we went to the homeless shelter, and man, it was one of the best meals I had in Missoula. It was like this nice lasagna, there was salads.
Real quick, I just need to say he does not, in New Zealand, and no Cash App, no Venmo, but he does have a PayPal, and I put it in the description link. I sent him a boost as well, and I encourage anybody who's feeling generous, and if you got it, yeah, man, make sure he gets back to New Zealand safely. But no, there's no Cash App and Venmo, just the PayPal. Now, what you can do is you can donate to me, and I'll just give him the money. That's easy too. Thank you for asking, Crypto Ginger. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, and just as well, like when I arrived in Texas, the hospitality that I've experienced from Jason and Dawn is like it's unparalleled. Taking me out for dinner. Jason brought me some sandals yesterday because I lost my jandals in the airport. Some Nikes, never had Nikes before, so it's pretty cool. Just the love, man. I've always been quite a giving person. I often make people things. I'll give someone my last $10 if I think they need it. So yeah, man, just blown away by Jason's just his love and how much he has to give.
I'm gonna give him up. I'm gonna give him up. He got kind of emotional on me, which made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult for me to receive sometimes. I haven't had the support I need in life. And but it's kind of happening there, and I really appreciate everyone that's been involved.
Well, what he's experiencing, guys, is a massive pattern break. With a uniform life in a certain geographical location, not going anywhere, extremely isolated. New Zealand is isolated from the Western world. It is the closest neighbor it has is equally isolated, Australia. So huge pattern break to just up and leave New Zealand on a whim into an economy that you're not used to. This is a predator economy. It's a huge leap of faith to come to the United States and wander around. And you don't have tens of thousands of dollars in the bank. So he did that, met some cool people. I didn't know anything about Lao at all. It was Joel, who I have a pretty good relationship with. And, next week we're going to be at Virginia Beach. And I invited Joel to come too. He's welcome to speak. I asked him to be there as well. It's going to be a very unique affair because this is one of the things I'll be talking about. Not only pattern breaks, but exactly what it does to our field and why that is the instant in time that you're really becoming the arbiter of your own code. It is what this man's going through right now, and the reason he's having these emotional ups and downs and having a fantastic time and then barely making it, but still having a great time doing it. It's because he's in that moment right now. His next 6 months to 2 to 3 years are being written right now by what he's basically coming to terms with and deciding what he wants to do about his future. This is the pattern break. It's in the flow of the pattern break where you're literally knitting the circumstances of your tomorrows. So this is pretty exciting to see it. And he's kind of trapped between the past and the future right now because the present is very unreal. And this is what the pattern break is all about. So I wanted to have him just discuss his experiences with you guys because he's literally living the very things that I tell you, the very things that I've lived and experienced myself. And I already know, I don't care where I'm at. I'm always going to make it. I've been on the streets. I've been surrounded by. I've slept under bridges, under underpasses. I've slept in sewer tunnels that look like cities underground. Yeah, I've taken flashlights and gone deep into the catacombs in Fort Worth. Couldn't even believe Fort Worth had an underground, but it does. I mean, I come across other people doing the same thing. People are camped out underground. I've lived that life. And he said, Tulsa, you guys already know, my Archaix veterans. You already know. Tulsa was the center of my childhood runaway period. I was in Tulsa, and then when I left Tulsa, I went to Sapulpa, where I had a very unusual experience. And all that's on my YouTube channel. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. But it's coming into contact with Lau here and just listening to the stories yesterday, and then I just got when I get over here a couple hours ago. I just drove over here. It's coming back into. He's got an energy about him, and because it's just really interesting. So I just popped it on him. Hey man, let's just do a surprise live. It took us about an hour and a half to set up. Finally get everything set up. That, yeah. Totally different setup than I've ever done before. My laptop's way over there, but I got a modem right here that he and I are looking at the monitor. I took the monitor out of the studio back there. My laptop is way over there connected to the internet, and I'm controlling it wirelessly with this mouse, and I'm using the modem. I'm using the monitor to do it. It's crazy. I've never done a setup like this, but you know what? It might be a new setup. I like it. I wish I'd have done it like this when Martin was here.
Yeah, one of the reasons that I was comfortable doing all of this is, about 2 and a bit years ago, after doing a few different purification, I practiced the fruit diet. I was on the fruit diet. I was practicing the white tantra and following the principles of the Essene Gospel of Peace. And this had kind of happened after a lot of shitty stuff happened in my life. I'm not going to share the personal things to do with other people, but essentially I went through the most beautiful illumination type experience ever. It was so magical, but as it grew and as it got stronger, the people around me started to look at me with a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, and essentially I ended up being called crazy. Some people tried to incarcerate me in the institutions, and I had to chuck my dogs in the truck, build a wooden box on the top of it, put all my gear in, and I just left town. Threw my SIM card out the window as I went over the bridge, Womack. And and then that's when I kind of stepped into who I really was. And I needed that time. I needed that time to be in nature, to work with the mother and the father. The mother's usually what people reconnect with first. And she'll show you all sorts of things. And then at some stage, the father will come in and you'll get what people call past lives. Some people call them past lives, some people call them parallel lives. I tend to think the parallel lives is a little bit more accurate because, if you know anything about the whole spiritual kind of ideology, time doesn't really exist. Everything's kind of happening at the same time. So, I had a lot of these, what I call parallel life recapitulations, where another lifetime would just come in so strongly, and for a couple of days, I would step fully into that character, that personality. And then you would kind of, pull that all in, and then you would make that part of you. And so Lao Yazoo, the old medicine man, was essentially a recapitulation of all my parallel lives into one name, which I really like. It's very simple. And so, I had to retreat. I had to retreat to the forest. And that was the only place where I really had refuge, but it was also the place, traveling around like here, like I met all these people that were, it was during COVID times. I was unvaccinated. I wouldn't wear masks. I got kicked out of an Indian store one day when I was wearing all my robes and that. Turned around and I used the quote out of The Gunslinger, The Dark Tower, Stephen King. And I told them, "You've all forgotten the face of your father." And I walked out. I felt quite good about that. But yeah, I was sort of seen as a crazy person, but I was flying. I was completely flying.
I want
And-
to offer some context.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, in prison, I wrote a trilogy it was written by Stephen King. And this is what he's referring to. And I've been trying to tell him since last night that he needs to go ahead and do a full decode on that because I agree. The trilogy is The Gunslinger, the Drawing of the Three, and The Wastelands. These are 3 books by Stephen King basically about our world, a parallel reality, and they're fantastic. They're fiction, but you already know we've been learning. We've been learning in the past 10 years. Truths are conveyed through fictions, and it's an excellent series of books. And he was telling me about it. And I'm just looking at him like, wow, man. I said, man, he's listening to all audiobooks. I've read these books and I agree with him. Stephen King was on to something. The man knows what he's doing and the drops, just like the Lord of the Rings, just like C.S. Lewis, the Chronicles of Narnia, just like Watership Down. Yeah, man, there's truth in fiction. The movie Night of the Comet, I've told you guys, is about the Phoenix phenomenon. The Night of the Comet is harrowing. The Phoenix phenomenon, clearly everything, underground government operatives in underground facilities, the red dust, humans vanishing, object appears in the sky. If you have not seen The Night of the Comet, then you really don't know what the Phoenix phenomenon is about. Just telling you that now. But anyway, I digress. He also agreed that, well, he actually the one brought it to my attention, and I agreed with him.
Yeah,
Stephen King's material is epic.
Yeah, there's something in, I think imagination is not something people really fully understand. I think imagination is, it's often a kind of an eye into another world or maybe another layer of the onion, and it's not simple, it's not clear, but once you kind of learn to pick up these little fractals, you start seeing them everywhere. And there's truth in so much fiction, and I really resonate with the character, the gunslinger. He's the last gunslinger.
Roland. I love that character.
Yeah, man.
Man, I love that character.
He's so cool. And I don't know, I resonate with him because no matter how much shit is thrown at him, no matter how hard his life has been, he just keeps going. Because he just wants to get to the Dark Tower. He wants the truth. And there was even a time after, towards the end of my experiences, my sort of shamanic initiation, where I was going to build an octagonal Taoist tower out in the country and just live there for the rest of my life. And it's interesting because tarot also has the tower moment,
Tower,
it's a big,
yeah.
So, I literally had my tower moment at the end there, and I decided to go back to the world. I decided to go back and to try to integrate what I'd experienced. And it took 2 years. It took 2 years to integrate it, and most of the time I didn't really feel like being here because it's to experience that and then to walk back into this. It's black and white almost. But Joel really helped me. If anyone's had really strong experiences and they've been ostracized by groups or institutions or whatever, Joel the Perceiver, he was the only one that I found, that could help me get to the next stage, or at least, really finish that integration process. And so because I went to the retreat at the start of this trip, it was a perfect preparation for me to have these experiences. And I just want to acknowledge as well, when I was in Santa Fe, Bo, another guy from our group, he was the first person I asked for some assistance for flights, to come up to Texas. And just straight away, man, he was like, yep, you tell me what the flights are, I'll book them for you, all good. So yeah, shout out to Bo for getting me here to Texas.
It's awesome, man.
But
I want to speak on Joel for a second. Just tell my community. I know you guys have noticed that Joel and I are fundamentally different. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a here's where I got the data type of guy. Joel is not. Joel's in the moment. He's very different than me. if something falls out of somebody's mouth, I really want them to quantify it. I want to understand that they're not shooting me a load of shit, and they know what they're talking about, and they can source the information. Joel is very different, but I'm telling you now, I do not understand why. But from the first time I met that guy, we were kindred spirits, and this is why we've done so many presentations together. We've done them on Archaix TV. We've done them on his YouTube channel. We've done them on my YouTube channel. And you know what? We're going to continue to do them because there is a bond there. And it goes far beyond anything that's cerebral. So there's a bond I really like to do. I got much respect for him. He's one of the only people that I invited to my Virginia Beach affair. So I really like the guy.
Well, like me and Jason, been talking about our experiences with people. I mean, Joel's the same. He spent a lot of time hanging out with homeless people and talking to them, and all sorts of magical experiences happen for him.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that's the connection that we both have with Joel. Is there's a certain point where I spent years studying and practicing most of the world religions, being part of different communities, and it's not until you found those people that they have some sort of mastery around the shadow because they've been around the mud, but that's like I say, I'm good metaphor, like that lotus grows out of the mud.
Right.
If you have aversions to drug addicts or prostitutes or homeless people, you're not going to get the full truth. A lot of the communities that I was in, people would have aversions to me because I smoke cannabis and tobacco. And, so I go through experiences and then people will project the psychosis thing, A lot of the time, psychosis just means I don't understand what you're going through. And
I agree with that.
Yeah, Joel, man, he's the man. I got a lot of respect for him. I was really lucky. Just before I was about to leave to catch my bus, the Greyhound bus, about 4 hours, Joel came and picked me up, took me out, shouted me a meal and a drink. And then we went and sat by the river and talked for a couple of hours. And just that alone, and I didn't have a lot, to have his. He's a busy guy. There's a lot of people that he supports, and so to receive that from him on the last day was really special, and it kind of gave me a really nice energy to set me off onto my journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you now. That's the beauty of the pattern break, because when you're in the flow of that pattern break, that is exactly when all rules are suspended and all potentialities exist simultaneously, and things will just be introduced into your life with rapidity. Listening to me in New Zealand, did you ever think you'd be sitting right next to me?
No.
With me taking pictures of my own charts I did 20 years ago in prison while we're doing a live YouTube video together? Did you ever see this coming?
And I mean, I just want to say to people as well, anything's possible. Don't let, whether it's your friends, whether it's the media, whether it's your family, just do what you really feel is right, and it might not be easy at the start. You might not see how it's going to all work financially. You might not see how it's all going to work practically, but it does all work out, I think I've done things against kind of all odds, and I'm here with Jason in Texas. I started following Jason when he was putting the Christmas lights up on people's houses, so I saw him doing the grind. I've done the grind in my life. I did about 6 trades. I was a sawmiller. I was a self-taught arborist, builder, landscaper. And so I also appreciate, those people that are connected to the ground and our world is built by tradesmen, and they haven't always been paid very well. Luckily in New Zealand, in the last 10 years or so, tradesmen have, it came from probably a lack of tradesmen, but now they get paid pretty well. But I know in the States, there's a lot of Mexican workers building your cities, and they ain't getting paid a lot of money. So, just remember when someone's doing a bit of construction work for you, they're working hard and they're putting their bodies on their line. And most of those dudes, man, you get to 35 years old and your body doesn't work that well anymore. And so, big up to the tradesmen.
Yeah, you're right. It's always good to know stuff, though. Only on my own property do I actually still do woodwork, some electrical. I don't really have any opportunities to do any machine work, but I do like my tools.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to take away from academics and scientists and teachers and everyone else that's important, but I guess for me, I've lived in that world, and especially being a sawmiller, man. Like my boss Peter down in Dunedin, oh man, just soul to the earth, Like it was probably my favorite job, just cutting logs into timber, just seeing that grain every day. Simple pleasures, man.
Yeah, he was pretty excited yesterday when he was breaking down, showing me how this thing comes apart, and it's got a symbol on the inside, and how he made each individual bead from different trees in New Zealand and highly polished it all up. Yeah, so I dignified that with I just wore it out. We went to the movies last night, and we went to a restaurant, and I just sported it. And when I got back here today, I sit there and put it right back on for this video. Yeah, I like it. It's good stuff. So anything homemade's got a good energy. Anything handcrafted, absolutely. It's in the field. It's radiating very positive energy. It has the essence of the individual that put their life into it. So I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'm happy to have met him. I'm happy to see somebody actually in the flow of the pattern break. It's amazing. This is a huge pattern break for this guy. So this is the type of stuff that completely alters the trajectory of your life. Let me give you another example. You guys know autodidactic. Campbell?
Yeah, Campbell. He's not too far away.
Campbell's in Australia. Campbell has really struggled. Campbell's also, most people know physically he has a problem. Yeah, he does have a handicap. I'm not going to go into it, but that handicap really, really has strengthened that man, because most people with the handicap he's got would not try to live on their own in the wilderness, trying to do the homesteader life. He's doing it. Then when he wanted to expand his channel with more experiences, instead of just doing the books and the online garnering of information, he really did a pattern break and stepped out there, and we brought him to the United States, and he just traveled all over the United States with us and Martin, and he had a blast, and he went back. But that pattern break for autodidactic opened up other doors. Do you know he went to Bosnia, Serbia? He's been to other countries now. Autodidactic's becoming international. But this is what he did. That pattern break opened up doors for Campbell. And it's what you do in that time. In the flow of the pattern break is what you do. You are literally knitting your future. The conditions do not obtain. Any negative aspects that are attached to you in the flow of the pattern break, they're all bypassed. It's like a massive override to the trajectory of your life. But you've got to grab the reins and direct that direction where you want to go. Because when you're in the flow of that pattern break, that's where all the magic happens. Because when you're not in the pattern break, you're living back in a reactive mindset. You're back into dungeon programming. We all get into it. We can't escape it. The collective is everywhere. But it's when you're in that flow, that's when I tell you guys, every single moment is pregnant with possibility. So yeah, he had an emotional moment this morning, and you know what? I get it, because this experience in the flow of a major lifetime pattern break, it can be sensory overload. Has it been sensory overload for you?
Yeah,
Going through this experience? Has it been like almost surreal that you have a conversation with these people, and then like 6 hours later you're in a different environment around different people, and all of a sudden your situation is awesome?
Yeah. I'll give you another example, right? So I was leaving Santa Fe, and I didn't have any money, zero. I had a couple of pennies. So anyway, the night before, I ate some rice and some beans, and a little bit of this like turkey bean mix or something. So anyway, I made like a bean mix and like 2 big containers of rice. Thought, yeah, sweet, prepared for the day at least. I'll have 2 meals. And anyway, I ended up at Dallas, I think it was, and I had a couple of hours to wait. And I had my couple of little bags, and I ended up leaving the little food bag by a table. I kind of walked away, and I realized about 5-10 minutes later, I thought, oh shit, I gotta go back and get my food. So I go back to get the food, and it's not there. So I'm looking around, and I look in the bin, and the bag that had my food in it was in the bin, but no food. So someone had taken my food and then dumped the bag. So I thought, oh man, I don't have anything to eat.
There is
pretty gutted because I was, I put a lot of love into the food. It was super nice. I like my beans and rice. And so like I start talking to the cleaning people. A lot of them didn't understand English, so I didn't get very far. Tried to get some security people, and then I kind of got a lady. Kind of felt like she was helping a little bit, and I thought, look, the security camera right there. Just want to know, if I get my food back. And then she said, oh yeah, sweet as, I'll go check it. And then I just waited there for 20 minutes. Realised she wasn't going to come back, and then walked down there, and she was sort of loitering around the end. I thought, oh well, that's not going to happen. So anyway, I ended up calling 911, called the police, and they came down. And it was two really, really nice police officers, and they were, really empathetic, and they're like, yeah, it sucks, man, and we'll try to at least, if we can't get you food or whatever, we'll get you some food vouchers. And I was thinking, oh, okay, that actually sounds all good. And anyway, long story short, I ended up getting some food vouchers and getting this nice Mexican meal, this big kind of burrito bowl thing. But I kind of felt kind of energetically exhausted, at that point. So I was sitting down eating my bowl. Then I received a text message, which wasn't very good. And that kind of, So anyway, I was just feeling all of it. Finished my meal, got up, and then
came to the United States and got
this couple was looking at me, and I walked past, and they're like, "You're right, man, you're right." And I was kind of feeling all sensitive, felt like I was about to cry. And then they're like, "Do you need something? Do you need any money?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, yeah, I could really do with some money." And that's hard for me, I'm good at giving, but pretty crap at receiving. So anyway, they gave me $20. And I said, thank you so much. And I kind of had to walk away and sit down and kind of process. And then when I kind of felt a bit more stable, I went and said, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So at the end of the day, I ended up with a nice meal, from a Mexican place with a whole lot of stuff that I didn't have, and $20 in my pocket. So, yeah, like the worst situation can always turn into the best situation. And then I got on the plane, and in the line I met this guy, and he had practiced the tenets of the Ascend Gospel of Peace, and he had just made a documentary fasting in the rainforest. So I had this amazing talk with him and a guy called Boris. He's just come to Texas, so yeah, stay in touch with him, and yeah, we had a lot of parallels, and he just 100% understood, what I was going through, my journey, how I was sort of perceiving things. So yeah, it's gone from potentially worst situation to the best day I could have imagined, and then every day becomes like the best day I could have imagined. So I'm just going with the flow and trusting it, and yeah, this is like the pinnacle, being sitting here with Jason after sitting on the other end for so many years, and yeah.
Jamie Robbins sat right there. He went through the cabinets and pulled out a whole bunch of my handwritten notes. Cause I've kept those too. Pulled out my handwritten notes from research. I think he went through these original illustrations too. But Martin Leakey's been here. Max Egan's been here. Campbell, Joel, a bunch of local errands. A bunch of there's a lot of them in Houston area. Yeah, it's I'm missing some names. There's been other people here too, but man, that's what it's all about. It's all about this. You strip away all the veneer. Aussies and Kiwis are no different than Texans. You strip all the culture and all. You know what, man?
Yeah. I mean, like one thing I was expressing to people is, I came to America when I was a kid, my family, and I don't really remember a hell of a lot. And I had this perception of coming over to America that everything will be so different and people will be different. But man, it's all the same. Everywhere you go, people are the same. The houses might look different, the climate might look different. But it's all the same, you know. The interactions that we have with people and the connections that we have with people are universal. So once you can get past all the cultural kind of bullshit in terms of the, you know, these are people are bad, you know, in the West they say, oh, China, that's, you know, or the Middle East or whatever. They're all people like us. And so you know, the more we can kind of switch off all those narratives and not look at people as black and white or, yeah, it's just, I'm kind of sick of that, you know, like, I don't think of myself as being an A4 sheet of paper and, you know, not all black people are the color of ink. You know, there's a huge big gradient, and I think it's important for us to appreciate everything. And then that's when you can really be happy in life, you know, because you're not at odds with anything. And that's a powerful thing that Joel's taught me is that, yeah, like, get rid of your self-importance and don't be at odds with anything, you know. You get rid of your self-importance and you don't get offended. And if you're not offended at anything, then you're not at odds with anything.
Yeah, he's practicing the absolute suspension of ego.
Mm. And, you know, it seems like, yeah, it's simple. You know, I've done a lot of practice and studied a lot of the religions, and it gets really, really complex. There's so many layers of it, but, you know, the Tao Te Ching is probably one of the best things for people to study. It's very short, it's very simple. I wouldn't use any translation apart from the Jane English one, because a lot of people have kind of murdered it and started using sort of academic type words.
So what are you talking about? 'Cause I'm not...
So the Tao Te Ching is a short poetic piece with a number of verses, and it essentially explains, well, for me, it explains everything in relation to the interrelation with us and people, and the interrelation with us and nature.
This is an Eastern text.
Yeah. So essentially, you know, it talks about the way, you know, the way of nature, and, you know, moving like water. And so it just uses natural principles and metaphors to reflect the most conducive, smooth way that we can live. But it can be confusing because a lot of it just does sound poetic, and, you know, you don't really understand the concept behind it. But if you listen to especially the audio recording narrated by Jacob Needleman, who's a really amazing man himself, doing the Jane English translation, just keep listening to it, and you get a little bit this time, a little bit next time. It's only about an hour and a half. Jacob Needleman gives a really, really good synopsis at the end as well, sort of explaining the importance of the Tao Te Ching and how, you know, it's applicable in any epoch, you know, any time. It's not a cultural, it's got nothing to do with culture. It may have come from, like, it may have a Chinese illustration in a sense, but it's outside of culture and it's outside of religion. So, that, you know, for spiritual teachings, that's what I would point people to, you know, rather than, I think the guru route, you know, probably piss a lot of people off, but I think that's a thing of the past. And I think that's part of the hierarchical structure that we're trying to get away from. So yeah, it's simple. You can look it up on YouTube. Sometimes it gets taken off for, you know, privacy reasons or whatever. I'm not quite sure what the legality of all that stuff is, but I'm sure you can find it somewhere. You can probably even buy it, get it on Audible. But yeah, just chuck that in your iPod or on your phone and listen to it when you're at work. Keep listening to it, and yeah, we'll have a lot of gems for you.
It's awesome. So, I like to do things interactive to be mutually beneficial, not only to my audience, but to you as well. Since you're sitting here, I want to, just so people can really understand how deep this pattern break is transformative in an individual's life. We're in a co-creator relationship, and the best expression of that relationship is the construct and how it yields to us. So it's not going to do that without a definitive signal. So I'm going to ask you personally, you're in the flow of a pattern break right now. But in order to maximize exactly what you're going to get out of this, there needs to be a definitive image that you imprint into the construct so it understands where you see yourself in the near future. What is it that you are trying to accomplish? Because if you're broadcasting multiple signals, you're going to receive multiple reflections, and you're not going to receive the whole of any one part. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you shotgun a bunch of intent into the future, then you're going to have a whole bunch of pellets of experiences peppered back to you. But if you have a real good, solid image, man, this is what I want. I want a cottage on the side of a hill. I want a bunch of trees on my property. I don't want to have to pay the property taxes. I want this to come into my lap. And you just literally paint this massive and detailed picture. It's in the pattern break flow that starts getting knit for you, because you're never going to change your reality by cognition. So in the present, you're going to change tomorrow, but that's got to be with what you're projecting today. The construct needs to have a signal. It needs to understand exactly what. This is why I tell people, I don't have a pen with me right now. This is why I tell people the power of the pen. I tell people all the time, because this requires a whole lot more than just a keyboard. You take a piece of paper out, you're doing something in the construct. Construct's paying attention. You call it oversoul. You take that piece of paper out, God forbid I mess this one up. But God forbid I mess up this original illustration here. This one goes back. But you take a piece of paper, you now have the construct's attention. You pick up a pen, you're doing something further that it's trying to interpret. Then you start writing. The act of writing isn't just ink appearing on paper. It's you. You are in a mode of spiritual alchemy. It takes mental output and the avatar working together to put an idea, concept, wish, prediction, projection, whatever on paper. Once you put it there, you have entered something into the field. You've written code. It's right here. Write a list of what your goals are. This is the things you need to do. It's in the pattern break flow. When all this coding is scrambled because the construct's trying to figure out what can I do for this individual soul, because it's refusing my programming. This soul here is not accepting this dungeon programming, this paradigm over here, this faith, philosophy, this belief. This soul over here is now going against all the grain, and now all potentiality lies in the moment. But if you don't do anything clear in the moment, then when the future comes, you're going to be really upset that you wasted it. That's all I'm saying.
It was really helpful, being in another country, because at home there are people in projections which want to see me in a different way. They don't want to see me like this. They don't want to see me talking about this stuff.
Right.
And so there's sort of like people can be in a little bit of a psychic trap, with your environment and the people that they associate with. So it can be really good to just go to another country, and then you feel a lot clearer in that sense. And so, I was still trying to figure out while I was back home, what am I going to do? Where do I want to live? But coming to America, it's just, I don't know exactly what I want to do. And so I'm planning to move to New Mexico next year. And I've been an artist, and, I make a lot of beautiful stuff out of wood. I write a lot of poetry, and most of that stuff is just sitting at home. A few times I kind of stepped forward a little bit, kind of offered it, in the spaces and the communities that I was in, but, it wasn't received in a way that I could make a life, doing that. But being in America, I've shown people a lot of my art and stuff, and it blows people away here. And so I'm getting this different reflection, and I'm getting the yes for me to manifest the life that I really want, and that's crystal clear. I don't have the doubt that I have back home in New Zealand. And so it's given me a time where, it's like clear, the way is really clear for me. And so, I was saying to Jason, I'm going to start my own channel as well because I really like sharing, and I feel like maybe I can help people in a way from just sharing my experiences. But also kind of bringing in my artwork, the jewelry. I've only really just started doing jewelry, but I'm potentially going to start a jewelry business with the man that I helped out at the bus stop, Dennis from LA. So he's also a jeweler. He works with mostly stones, and he does copper wrapping. Really nice organic looking stuff. It almost looks like really ancient African, type art. So anyway, potentially combining with him and doing a bit of jewelry as well. But my channel is going to be called Tower Above the Sun, and this was a metaphor that was really strong, during my initiation. And the tower above the sun represents a place that's away from the debate, the suffering, the duality, and it's really just a place for abstract expression and just a refuge. Like that's what I needed during my experiences, and it was very hard for me to get refuge anywhere. I didn't really get offered a bed or a room or anything during that time. So yeah, that's a metaphor that I like to use. There's also a song by a guy called Matthew and the Atlas, and it's called Tower Above the Sun. So you can listen to that as well. That'll kind of give you a good idea of the energy. Roland the Gunslinger is no doubt some of the influence to your idea about the tower. And even it's quite interesting. So when I was in Tulsa, there was a guy getting rid of a whole lot of the stuff, and I ended up finding 2 of these hats. Well, he's actually chucking them in the bin. So I ended up getting 2 of these hats for free. So that was quite a nice little kind of gunslinger, thing to put on the top of it. Take that back to New Zealand. Yeah, so I got one for my mate Bo. The other one can go to him. But yeah, man, you can even find gold in a rubbish bin. So, and I'm not too proud to have a hat from a rubbish bin on my head as well. So it's no different to me. But yeah, the gunslinger, like Dragon Ball Z, I really love Dragon Ball Z. That's another thing which, I want to do some decodes on. I know there's a huge amount of fans around the world, Dragon Ball Z fans. And especially the original Dragon Ball. Man, that's got some cool stuff in it. So part of the tower. He was trying to give me the Dragon Ball Z decode last night, but it doesn't work for me because I've never watched it. I don't know who the characters are. I don't know the storyline, but it was pretty deep. It just went over my head. Yeah, I mean, there's the Tales of Power, and Goku, who's the kind of the strongest warrior there. He's always the best because he has a pure heart. And when he's a little kid, he's the only one that can fly on this cloud called the Nimbus. So the Nimbus kind of zips around, But the only reason why he can fly on it is he has a pure heart. So anyone that doesn't have a pure heart will just fall straight through it, right? They're too heavy. Okay. And so, it's a story about, achieving power and, kind of fighting against depression, but doing it from a pure place, and becoming powerful, you have to love it. You have to do it because you want to experience that energy, not because you want to be better than the next man or you want to be able to physically overcome someone. It's like you start to enjoy the process for holding all that power in reserve for special moments in your life where you really need to, dig deep. So, yeah, really looking forward to that. And I've got a huge amount of artwork. I do a lot of mandalas, and which take a lot of inspiration from the Tanka sort of lineage and from Tibet. I've got lots of stuff to share, and I've got a few series of artworks that are sort of partially complete. So it'd be really nice to start a new life here in America and just get stuck into the things that I really love, and to put down the things that don't support me anymore. Whatever's not working, you got to let it go. So somebody mentioned John Lamb Lash, Daniela Johnston. Don't bother. He's already been invited to a podcast,
And out of like 40 people contacted, we only had 3 that did not want to come on Archaix, and that's fine. I don't even know. I don't even want to know why. All they had to do was decline the offer. Not even worried about it. There's way too many. There are way too many people of value that have yet to be heard for me to fret about anybody's, idiosyncrasies or whatever problems they may have with me or my community. Believe me, once I send the invite out, if they refuse, it's cool. I'm never going to ask again.
He's the Gnostic, right? Talks a lot about Sophia.
Yeah,
man. The Gnostic stuff, it's not too different from the Taoist principles. There's a little bit more of a story, with Sophia being the earth and the archons and things like that. But it's not too different from the Toltec with the flyers and.
Right.
I mean, that's what's great about Jason's work that I resonate with is, you kind of have to look at everything. There's truth and falseness and everything.
The Archaix massive amount of data is taken from all over the world. And that's after an even more massive amount of information has been eliminated. So, like I said, when you look at the core fundamentals, you see where the truth lies. It's amazing. That example is my very first published book, Lost Scriptures of Giza. When people read that book, they're overwhelmed. They say, "Oh my God, I had no idea that this many texts from the ancient world even mentioned Enoch. I didn't even know that the Great Pyramid even had this history. This isn't anything we're taught." And all the ancient texts are cited. Everybody has a say. But it's the elimination. It's the elimination of all bad information. That makes Archaix valuable. Because what's left is what we can show. And what we can show is crazy because it's all mathematically connected. And that's a whole other story. But today's not about Archaix. I just mentioned that because somebody had mentioned John Leon Lash.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's all connected, man. It's all connected.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I think
I forgot who the other person was. It was him, and somebody else, and then we've had a few that told us later.
Yeah, I think that, look, a good point to make is you need to be careful with both culture and religion. The issue with culture and religion is you get stuck in a container, and you're not really going to be able to receive anything outside of that container. So I have respect for all religions. There's truth in all of it. I have respect for all cultures, but you fall into a culture too much, you're gonna block yourself off, from a certain level of information. So I've been lucky enough to have the temperament, I guess, to be open to all cultures and religions because I loved so much of the different stuff. And the division, I think it is breaking down now in the world, but even back in New Zealand, there is division of culture, division of people, and I know that people are different races, people are different colors, but let's appreciate that rather than kind of falling into teams and competing with each other. And there's no reason for it, and most of us are all mixed anyway. There's less and less just black and white.
Man, I wish the one talks were in the chat. The one talks are from New Zealand too. They kind of operate Archaix New Zealand, and they're also moderators. But I don't think they knew that we were going live. So this is a surprise live. But we're gonna set him up with their information so they can come into contact because they're farmers. They're pretty much doing their thing out there in New Zealand.
Yeah, it'd be really cool to connect with the Wontoks and just everyone in the, even Joel. I only came across Joel through watching Jason's material, and I think that's still that first video is still the most watched. Yeah.
Which one?
Toltec to high tech.
Oh, that's my most watched video of all time. Toltec to high tech. Yeah. Who really are the elite? Can one of my moderators please post that video? It is the most watched video in all of Archaix history, and it was one of my first. I think it was my very first video with Joel.
So most people that ended up going to the retreat in Montana, got to Joel through Jason. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I think, truth recognizes truth and real recognizes real. And it's an honor, man, to just be sitting here and chilling and, to be able to just smoke inside or whatever, I feel really at home.
Yeah,
Jason's cool, man.
Yeah, you've been feeling it. You go to some establishment and you pull a cigarette out, they're going to get on your ass.
Exactly.
Here in the United States.
And so, I was saying before about the tobacco, a lot of the time I'm just rolling cigarettes for people, for homeless dudes.
Yeah.
And a guy gave me his last buck in Santa Fe. Again, I ran out of money. And he said, no, you keep your cigarettes, but you can have $1, And I kind of folded that $1 up and I put it in a little thing in my wallet because I felt like that $1 specifically, has something special in it.
So, man, it's all. Look at that. What? How did this happen? What? That's like fortuitous. We're almost wrapping this up. Yeah, guys, this is a huge stack. Oh, these are 101 right here, but I've got more.
So the other thing, I guess,
for all pen and ink illustration.
And I was just saying to Jason before, I do quite intricate mandalas, and I know what it takes to create these sort of documents. The time and the impeccability sitting there. Even the straight lines, everything. Like you have to be fully present.
Everything
and to have a big stack, like a document like that you've made with your hands.
Everything is fine ballpoint pen and steel ruler. That's all I had. That's the only thing I had in prison to use. But.
So, and I've kind of mentioned, like my experiences, things that I've had. There's lots of stuff that I want to write about. So there's going to be 2 books that I'm going to start writing. There's one, which is going to be a conversation between Lao Tzu or the Tao Te Ching and the Castaneda material.
Oh, okay.
Because I think they're kind of 2 sides of the same coin. I think it would be a really cool conversation to have. But then I've also got a book that I'm going to write called The Three Folds. And that's going to be about what happened to me and the kind of knowledge that I received from the mother and the father. And it's a little different to, I guess, the things that have been taught up to now. But again, it's not completely different. It's a book that I want to write to kind of tie the pieces together that I've seen that haven't been connected, because of what I've talked about in terms of religion and culture and how it's been fragmented and compartmentalized. And I think, for people that want to believe in a God, or a higher being, for me, it's the most natural to just the earth and the sun, because it's real. Like every day you go out there's the sun, you're walking on the earth. So it doesn't really need to be more complicated than that. Like that's God. That's what I consider God. That, mother and the father coming together. And so,
So it's almost like the goddess energy is what you're referring to.
Well, the mother is the feminine energy, but it's also the grounding. It's actually where you get your strength from.
Do you know that person?
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's from Atlanta.
Okay. He says you made it, man.
Yeah,
look.
marijuana Jesus.
Marijuana Jesus.
Yes, I'll definitely be.
That's somebody you met.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's Jordan. So he's from the group. Jordan is an amazing dude. He's got a real big heart, and be definitely visiting him and his family in Atlanta, and looking forward to experiencing that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I feel like Atlanta has a cool energy, at least if Jordan's any representation of it. So and thanks for he also offered to help me out, and yes, I really appreciate that.
That's awesome. So somebody was asking where they can find Joel. So one of my moderators, if you put the Perceiver channel, it's a YouTube Perceiver. That's Joel Schaffer in there.
Yeah, no, people are interested. He's got some really great courses you can do, and we do these things called the magical passes, which are really kind of powerful, energetic movements that, for me, as someone that's practiced, yoga, I used to do a lot of weightlifting, martial arts, qigong, these sorts of things. The magical passes, I feel, are they're the most powerful, shortest, easiest way to really start connecting with real energy. And so I feel super grateful to have received some of those teachings from Joel, and doing it in a group online is amazing. And then when you finally get to meet in person, it's just someone else. You're all just working with energy. That's fantastic.
You can keep talking. My screen, I'm changing the screen because Dawn's got me confused. I thought Paul Cook was tomorrow because I was just about to announce it. I'm looking on my Google Calendar.
Yeah, I love Paul Cook's work, man. He's the man. So again, he just did this pattern break thing, and he just started traveling around the world. And
yeah, he did too. I remember that.
Doing it, and he's doing badass stuff, man. Like not many people have the balls to do that.
Oh, Paul Cook's next week. I'm sorry. Paul Cook's on the 22nd. Yeah, Paul Cook's on the 22nd. Jeff Harmon is tomorrow. I'm glad you said that then, because I was about to announce Paul Cook. I'm sorry. Jeff Harmon is tomorrow.
Who's Jeff Harmon?
He's a new guest on Archaix.
Oh, that was the history dude.
He came highly recommended. There were several people wanted me to talk to him. So okay, I'm glad that was cleared up. Glad that was cleared. Let me get back out of there. Cool. So it is Jeff Harmon tomorrow. Almost messed that up. Wouldn't be the first time I've done a blooper. Yeah, man. So when you catching your flight out?
So I leave LA on the 23rd.
Going into Mexico now.
So and I go back to New Mexico tomorrow for a couple of days.
You guys know the Rebel Crone. She's been on my channel. She's in New Mexico, and she knows he's going to be in the area, and even offered to get his number, and I guess she's going to reach out to you. Who knows? We may see you on YouTube with the Rebel Crone. She does videos. She does videos all the time.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do another one.
Yeah, she does videos all the time.
And it's cool. Jason said she's an artist, and
she's an artist.
Lives out in the desert, and yeah, man. So it's amazing the people.
I've been to her place. I've been to her place. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So it's cool, man. I mean, like I'm a little bit halfway, through my adventures here, and yeah, there's still some adventures to happen. So it's gonna be cool.
Look who just popped in the chat.
Who's that? Perceiver. Nice.
How you doing, Joel?
How you doing, Joel?
Yeah, man.
All the way from Texas.
Yeah, we're doing it good. So, I'm glad you guys got to meet Lau. One of his personal friends gave up his real name. That's okay. But I'm glad you guys got to meet him. He's having a blast. You know what? He just came on my channel to share his ups and downs. Joel reached out, said he was in the States, and we hosted him for a little while, and now he's going to move on, go to New Mexico, and then eventually Los Angeles.
Yeah. So I'm going to catch up with my friend Dennis
in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a straight shot to New Zealand.
I go out of LA and then to Aussie and then to New Zealand. So,
okay. Yeah. All right. That's still a couple weeks in the future.
Something like that.
You guys, thanks for donating. We're definitely going to send him off with a blessing, and I appreciate you joining us on this live. And for those of you who are watching me take those pictures, now you know it's been done. Quit sending me emails and bothering me about this. You guys are very soon going to have this whole stack. I've already got somebody pricing it, trying to figure out how much copies are on real high quality paper, high resolution, I'm talking about really, this is a megapixel camera. So this is all getting done. But on another token, somebody had a really interesting idea, because I do not advertise. I do not have any sponsors whatsoever, and I'm cool with that. I don't want my content broken up. But I think we're going to be, once we get this whole stack done and available, and we have these files, new PDFs of all these illustrations, so they'll be preserved. I think we're going to go ahead and release these to the public. I'm going to put a price on them, but these are original illustrations. And as Archaix grows and becomes more and more popular, they will go up in value. And because there's only 101 of these illustrations left, you guys remember these are very detailed. There's only 101 original illustrations left, and you can tell they're originals because the ink has bled through all the pages, and they've all been signed and dated by me. I just don't know what price to put on them, but probably going to spread them out throughout the world as collector's items so people can frame them and put them up, or maybe a museum somewhere will buy the whole stack. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I just want to make sure that the paper charts are available because a lot of people don't like the downloads. They don't like the PDF downloads. They want paper in their hands. So that's what we're doing. And some of these are going to be digitally enhanced so they can be distributed as posters as well. So anyway, that's our silver from India. Oh, that is such an awesome ring. Listen, man, it might be sacrilege, but I'm playing with all. I'm just playing with it all. I like it. Hey.
Yeah, man, and thanks everyone for, just being here with me and Jason today, and just feeling so much love from everyone. Thanks everyone in the chat, and look forward to seeing more of you. I'll let Jason know when I start the channel, and maybe he can put someone up just to head you guys in the right direction. And and if you resonate with it, love to. Be good to have some subscribers and start my own little community. So much love from Texas.
Dawn Hart, you watch yourself. Jason, look at that. I'm getting her. Jason is catching the mystic bug. Hey, you need to stop that kind of talk right now. I'm an open-minded guy.
I think you're already a mystic, man. You're just a lot of things, Jason. You don't have to be one or the other.
Yeah, she's been trying to get me on that Steiner, and I'm in full revolt. I'm in full rebel mode. I gotta block. Gotta block that. Yeah, gotta keep blocking it. She keeps trying to get him up in there. All right, guys, this has been great. Love you guys. Love my community. I love all the people I meet. It's awesome. Thank you, Joel, for introducing this one to us, and appreciate the donations. And we'll make sure they get to them. And until tomorrow, we're going live with Mr. Harmon tomorrow. That should be pretty interesting, especially for all those who wanted to see that happen. But meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and check out because we're going to go find something to eat and some trouble to get into.